Yes, good morning, students. Glad we can see the module 2. In this, you will go to learn the ReactJS, which is a front-end library, JavaScript library, which is a front-end JavaScript library. It is developed by the Facebook. Okay. What are the advantages of the by following the ReactJS? Let we can see one by step by step. It is the ReactJS is a component-based architecture. So it will be can be reused easily. Easily we can able to reuse. So by reusing this component, the performance also definitely it will be increases. And easy to create UI test cases also it will be very easy. Debugging is getting easy when specified Chrome extension. Fast when it come to displaying a big amount of component. Fast because we can able to reuse the component. For example, header and footer, sometimes it will be a common in the applications. So instead of creating each time, we can reuse those component. Not only header, footer, still some more component. We have table component, list components. We can reuse those components. Okay, and it is also SEO friendly. React is a virtual DOM. It will be finally we have the CDN like React DOM. In the previous session, I think you studied React DOM CDN link, which is used for transferring from the React component to the virtual DOM structure. Okay, let we can see deeply. Okay, what is a React.js? React.js is also known as a React.js or React.js. Is a free to use JavaScript library, which is a free to use JavaScript library designed for creating user interface means UI. We can be able to create, we can use the React.js for the creating the UI on the front-end web applications. It is a popular due to its component and it is a component-based architecture. And React.js, which is used for the creating the single page applications. What is a single page applications means? Instead of loading all the applications, all the components at a build time, so instead of that, it will be load only single page. Means it will bundle before build. It will bundle all the component into a single component. So when the at the time of build, when the time are loading, it will be load a single page. So the performance point of view, it will definitely increases. If you compare with other applications like .NET or some other applications, it will be need to load all the modules or all the components to run the particular applications. But here in the React.js, it is not like that. It will be converted to a single page, single page applications. So at the time of running, building, so it will be it will be load a single page. And it is a DOM structure for building web application so that are fast, efficient, and scalable. React.js is a why means it is a virtual DOM, which will be create a virtual DOM structure. So it is very fast, efficient, and scalable. React.js means it will be use the JSX. What is the JSX means? JavaScript XML. JS you studied the previous classes. If you are not, you can go with the previous session video. Then you will comes to know. Instead of creating each React element by using React.create element, we can use a JSX. Means whatever the nested element HTML element it contains, just placing the JSX element, it will be very easy. It will reduce the complexity. Second is it is a React.js is it is a component architecture. It is component based architecture. Third point is one-way data binding. It is a one-way data binding. See in the that is a two-way binding. Means Angular is a two-way binding. Why it means it will be event will be one-way binding, and also it follows the interpolations. Means will be interpolation even in the component we are specifying, even in the HTML also we are specifying that particular name, or for example for the element we are specifying some value, right? We are combining in the both side, we are specifying in the both side, wherever the changes has been done, it will be affecting both side. But in the React.js it's not like that. It is a one-way data binding, and it is entirely virtual DOM. Simplicity, performance point of view also it is very high. Why performance point of view it's a very high? Because we can reuse the component. See, as I told, it is created by the Facebook. In the Jordan Walk is a software engineer in the Facebook. He implemented the React.js. I think as a guy, we can you can able to see that guy half of the face is a Jordan Walk. He implemented the React.js. React.js is a declarative, efficient, and flexible JavaScript library. The React.js is a declarative, efficient, and flexible JavaScript library for building reusable UI component. It is an open source component based architecture or component based front end library. It is an open source component based front end library. A React.js application is made up of multiple components. How the React.js is built means it is made up of multiple components. Each component responsible for outputting a small. Each component its the responsibilities for outputting a small. By combining all this component, we can make it as a big project. Okay, reusable piece of HTML code. We can be instead of making a complex in a one thing, you can divide it into the multiple components. That will be the better idea. And finally, we can be combine all those. That is the advantages of the React.js. Component are the heart of all React.js application. It is entirely a component of the main building, or it is a React.js is entirely based on the component architecture. Issue tracker means what is the issue tracker? To keep track the change, issues in an organization. In organization, they have some tools like Jira to keep track the issues. Yes, I'm sure that most of you are familiar with GitHub. GitHub is what? What is a GitHub? GitHub is a repository, which is a repository. What is the use of the repository? For storing the your projects or data in a repository. What is that repository? It is a centralized place where we can store. Suppose if you are tomorrow you are not coming to the organization or company, someone that project is very urgent. Someone need to work on those pending task. So just you can clone the or take the pull request from the repository and continue in the remaining part of the work. Next is Jira. What is a Jira? Jira is a ticketing tool. Jira is a ticketing tool. Why it is need? Means in an organization there will be a team lead. You want to assign a task to each developer. Okay, by using Jira, they will be give the task to the developers. It's a ticketing tool. It is essentially CRUD application. It is very essential for the CRUD application. Means what is a CRUD? Create, read, update, delete. These are the operations for a project. To keep track this status, we need a Jira. The CRUD pattern is so useful because pretty much all enterprise applications are built around the CRUD patterns on different entities or objects. Once you grasp the fundamentals of how to implement the CRUD patterns in MERM, you will be able to replicate the patterns and create a real-life applications. Here some list are there. Okay. We can able to update the issues. If we have done that particular, we can able to update the issues. We can able to delete that particular issue. If you don't want, you can delete that particular issues. These are the kind of things we can do in the Jira ticketing tool. What are the described? An issue should be described by the following attributes like a title that summarize the issues. What is the particular issues in the Jira? There will be a title which will be summarize the issues. What is that particular issues? What is a bug? Particular bug that will be summarized. An owner to whom the issue is assigned to. Means, for example, in the organization, there will be a team lead or product manager. They will become the owner for a particular product. They are going to assigning some tasks to the developers in a team. Status indicator. What is the status? List of possible status value. They have some possible values like either they are what is the status of whether this is going ongoing or they are the have doubts. They want to clarify those doubts. That is called a status indicator. Creation date means when they are going to implementing a date automatically assigned. Means a date, creation date, that particular task which will be assigned to someone at that date. Automatically it will be assigned. Effort required. For completing those task, how much effort is required? How many days are required? Estimation completion date. When you will go to complete those tasks? Either today, tomorrow, when you will go to the site, when you will go to complete a date entered by the user. Means on who got the task, you will go to enter. When I will complete this on this particular day, they can be estimate. These are the issue tracker. Okay. Next is this is very important and essential for the React.js. React.js means it will be a component based architecture. As I told earlier, it is a component based architecture. In the component, we have two different types of component in React.js. What are the two different types of React component in the React.js? That is, one is a class component and another one is a functional component. A class component we can call it as a stateful component. Functional component we can call it as a stateless component. Okay, we can discuss functional component, class component, what is the state, props, and hooks one by one in the next one by one. As I told, React it is entirely based on the component. It is believed with the component is an out of React.js. We can also call like that. So component it will be divided into two parts. One is a component class component and another one is the functional component. Class component called stateful component. Functional component called as a stateless component. Why it is called class component called as stateful component and why the functional component is a stateless component? We can see one by one. Before giving the example, I'm going to differentiating to understand you easily to understand the what is a functional component, what it has, what is the class component, what it has. Easily you can come to know. Functional component is like a plain JavaScript function. You don't have a chance to set the state. It means it indicates that in the functional component we don't have the state variable. Class component means we have the state variable. We have the state variable. We can set the state component. Next point is function. In the functional component there is no render function. In the functional component we don't have a render function. Only we have the return the HTML kind of things. That's why functional component is suitable for only displaying. For only the displaying. We can't able to write any logical kind of things. Just for the UI kind of things, we can use a functional component. Let's see the class component. In the class component, we have the render. We have the render function, which will be return the HTML component and also which will be used to return the React class component. We have render function. In the functional component only it will return, but in the class component it has a render method. It has a render function. Functional component only accept the props. Only accept the props. That's why we can only for displaying the purpose. Means it will accept only the parameters, properties, which will accept only the props indicate properties. What is the props means? Props is the properties, which will be accept only the properties. But in the class component, we have the both state as well as the props. We have the state and as well as the props. That is why we can call it as a stateful component. We can props means we have to access the properties from one means props means when will be means it will be pass from one component to the another means passing the property from one component to the another component to receive in another component we use a props. Props means properties means from parent component it will receive the property to the child component. For example, then in the child component if you want to receive those property from the parent class we need a props. So functional component which accept only the props. In the class component which have the props as well as state. What is the state? State indicate that to keep changes, to keep track the changes in the class component we have the state. We have the state. To keep track the changes of particular component class component means we have the state. Suppose there will be a count variable in the class component. We make it as a state variable. Whenever the update has been done, each time the count value will be increases by 1. If you click the decrement button, each time it should have the decrement by 1 whenever the user has clicked the buttons. Functional component, we can call it as a stateless component because we are not using the state. That's why it is called as a stateless component. Class component means class component which can accept both props indicate properties and as well as state variable to keep track the changes of the state. That is called, it is a stateful component. We have the life cycle of the particular class particular component. Let we can say one by one what is that particular component classes. Before that, we can go with some example of a simple example, small example. These are the two different component. Class component is class. These are the class component. Class component has a render method. Class component which is extended by the react.component, which will be extended by react.component. So first we should have to import React from React library, and then class is a keyword, class theme extends react.component. So the react.component will become the super class or parent class to the welcome class. This is a class component. Functional component is similar like a JavaScript function. Function welcome, return, allow. This will be the functional component. These are the example you can give. Now you can comes to life cycle of the component. In the life cycle, we have the like initial phase, mounting phase, updating phase, and mounting phase. Whenever the initial means whenever the component has been initially loaded, before initially loading also they have to do some kind of things. Initial phase. Let's see what is the initial phase. It's a birth play phase of the life cycle of React.js component. It is a birth phase of the React.js of a life cycle of a React.js component. Here, the component started journey on a way to do DOM. First, initially, it will get the default props. Whatever, if you have any properties, it will get the default property values. Get initial state. Whatever the initial state, what is the initial state? For example, I'm going to declare using the count variable as an initial variable. The initial value of the count is 0. What is a state? Means as you are thinking, what is a state? I will discuss in the later classes. What is a state? For keeping tracking of the particular state. Means this state, for example, cricket application. Consider there is a cricket application. In this cricket application, score. There will be a score. Each time whenever the player has been played, each time the value of the score will be increases. That will be state variable, keeping tracking of the particular applications. So this will be how we can create by using this dot state we can be create. So at that time creating, we have set a some initial value for the state variable. To get that initial value, get initial state we are using. Next is mounting phase. Once the component has been loaded, mounting phase means once the component has been loaded, we can call the mounting phase. There also we have different methods like mount component will mount. Will mount means this is invoked immediately before component get render. Before component get render, it will be component will whenever the loading immediately it will call the component will mount before component get render into the DOM. In this case, when you call set state inside the method, component will re-render. Component did means invoked immediately after component get render. Once the component has been render or displayed, component did mount will call. Render means finally it will be rendered to the UI or display to the UI render method. Next is updating. Updating, why we need? Once the props has been here in the next phase of the lifecycle component, React component, here we get a new props. Here we get a new props. Props is the property from parent component to the child component, whatever. Okay. For that particular, once that particular component has been load, but from other component it will be get the props. From other component it will get the props and also change the state also. Whenever the change as a button has been clicked, it will be get updated. How we can get the state variable update? By using set state. Next is component will receive props. Whether this particular component will receive another props, any other property will it receive? That is also well checked. It is invoked when component receive new props. If you want to update the state in a response to prop change, you should compare this dot props and next props to perform state transition by using this dot set method, set state method. Should component update? Before updating, that will ask should component update. If it is written true, then only it can be update. Otherwise, it will be discard. Ignore. Component will update. Component will update means before component will update, it will call the should component update to confirm whether component need to update or not. And then if it is confirmed means then only it will component will be update. Render means it is used to display the UI kind of things. Unmounting, once the component has been removed means whenever we move from one component to the another component, that particular previous component need to unmount. The previous component need to remove for the cleaning purpose. So unmounting. So otherwise, what will be problem if you are not unmounting the face means it will the performance point of view it will reduce. You understood, right? These are the two different classes. Let we can see how we can pass the property from one component to the next component. Let we can see. Let we can see the before this we can see the example kind of things how we can create the React components. See, there will be an example like app.js. App.js is a functional component. Inside we have the issue table. Issue table is the issue table. Inside this we have the issue table. This table we have the separate component. This is a component. Whatever the first letter which indicate the capital, if first letter should be always the capital letter for the component identifications. See, div. This will be the HTML tag. HTML tag. The issue table is the component because the first letter itself is a capital. User, even if it is user profile is first letter is start with the capital. So it is a component. If it is small miss, then it is a HTML tag. So app.js and this issue table. If you go to the issue table component, these are the issue table component. Again, we are import React from the React import class name. This will be the class name. Issue table is the class name. Extends React.component, which extends what? React.component. We have the in the class what are there? Constructor as well as a render method. In this we have the render method. Okay. Inside there will be they are doing for the styling purpose. They are doing inside this render method. We have the return statement. Return statements. In the return statement, we have the HTML, which is returning in the HTML content. Table. We have the table style, border, collapse, T8. T8 means it is a table header, TR, table row, TH, table style again, inline styling, where they are doing, and then table body. We have the table. Inside the table body, we have the issue row and issue row. These are the child for the issue table because here we are using issue row. Issue row is also a component. See issue row, this is also a component. Okay. In this issue row is a child component for the issue table because we are using the inside the issue table class component. Again this issue row by passing the issue ID. These are the issue ID and issue title are the property we are passing for the issue row component. For passing with the communication will happen today. Say we can issue row is another component. For this we are passing the properties like issue ID and issue title. If you go to the issue row, this is one issue row is one component, class component. Again we are import React from the React class name which extend React.component. We have the render method. Inside there will be a return statement. TD is what? TR is a table row, TD is a table data. To create the cells in a table row, in a row, we need to create a cell means TD. We use a TD. This dot inside see this dot props dot issue ID. Where it came? It came from the issue table ID. Again for the another cell is this dot props dot issue title. Is another property which is received from the parent component, that is issue table. Parent component is a issue table. Got it, right? We can receive the properties inside the child or another component means this by using props. This dot props dot issue ID, this dot props dot issue title in the class component. This is the way of accessing the class component. I'll show the functional component also. Okay, thanks students for understanding this. We can continue in the next session.